Welcome to our second episode of Tea Time Chats. This episode features myself, Jessica Woods and Dee Taylor Mason, whom you will know from previous interviews and from episode 1 of Tea Time Chats. And our new guests today are Jean Dayton, who is an artist, and Azra, who works with conscious death and dying, soul midwifery, and she is a shamanic practitioner of energy medicine. In part 1, we discuss Azra's work and Jean's artwork, Dee's connection with a new energy, healing, different forms of creativity and channeling, believing in yourself and self-confidence, stepping outside of your story and the shamanic path, and moving out of fear as you raise your vibration. So, thank you Azra and thank you Jean for joining us today for our Tea Time Chat. Right, Dee, I understand you have connected just today with a new higher self aspect or new guide.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes, I have. It happened this morning. I was speaking to Daniel again this morning, Daniel and S.O. McLean, who we are in contact with on a regular basis. And while I was speaking to him, we then brought this guide in, and then I was speaking to Jessica a little while ago, and the guide came in again then, so that was really lovely. I'm going to put my glasses on and read this because this just came in 5 minutes before you all arrived. Because I've started to ask questions now, trying to get some more information. So she's called Siraya, and beautiful light energy, and she's part of the collective who I channel. And so she has written that part of the collective, all facets of energy connecting in the centre of the whole of peace and unity of all of humanity. That was all I got, and then the doorbell went. So that was obviously enough. It was enough to introduce her as part of the collective, which is lovely, isn't it? Because with a collective, you get all sorts of facets of them. Some of them come in like a strength, like peaceful warriors, or medical people. Everything, every aspect is there.
Yes, it is.
So it was so lovely to actually feel that gentle energy this morning. So I feel very honoured.
And I feel to say to you, continue with this writing, because when you write you link in, and it's like it's practice each time you write, and then it just comes in more and more, and it's progression.
Yes.
So it's a lovely way to connect.
It's absolutely lovely. And just to add, it was the first time that she'd actually come into physicality, and really enjoying that aspect of it as well. And the first time I connected, I had a backache when she'd finished, and obviously they're listening and take note, and said, oh, we'll adjust that, and it was adjusted immediately. So all very comfortable. And the second time it was much easier, but there was an acknowledgement of actually being in the presence and actually experiencing the sunshine and the energies around her. So she is still around. She's decided not to leave for a while yet, so enjoy her energies.
Lovely, lovely. So welcome seen and unseen guests, those in physicality and those in non-physicality. So Azra, Dee just mentioned that she was speaking to Daniel and S.O. McLean, which is our friend in Canada, and you are also in Canada. So you've come over here to the UK for a break, or for a working holiday, or whichever you want to call it.
A combination of things. I was originally planning on coming here at the end of April, around my birthday, which is Earth Day, but through synchronicity, I was part of my work as working with dying consciously, with being a soul midwife. I work in hospice, and someone from hospice sent me a link to a writing competition to write about and share experiences with death and dying, which is my passion, my sole purpose for being here. And so I clicked on the link to look at the guidelines, and it's something, I've been meaning to write about it, but it's about creating that space to do that, creating the time. And so I clicked on the link, looked at that. There was a sidebar with a number of articles. The first article I clicked on was written by Felicity Warner, and then I went directly to her website and realized that she has soul midwives, and she was offering a course just this past weekend in West Dorset. So that brought me here a month earlier than I had anticipated, and everything has been lining up beautifully.
Right. And coincidentally or synchronicity, synchronistically we're all here in East Dorset.
Yeah.
So what do you and you also have been into London as well?
Started out in London and then West Dorset, Chinook, and
what do you think of the UK?
I love it here. I absolutely love it here. I know it's my, it's the land that I connect most deeply to on earth. I know I have a very deep connection with the land here. And I look forward to moving here soon.
Lovely. And you would like to go to Canada, would you?
I'd love to go to Canada. I've always wanted to do the train journey across. You know, just take time coming out and then exploring wherever the train stops and then getting on. Because I like travelling, and I think that would be a great thing to do. It's always advertised with such beauty, isn't it, in our books here? But yeah, it would be lovely.
Very vast.
Yes, yes, I see. Yeah, I've been checking the map out to see where various places are now, and I hadn't realised how huge the place is.
Yes, and you know, all the different terrain as well. When you go through the prairies, like driving,
Yes.
it's, you know, 2 days of just flat land. You know, this flat horizon as far as the eyes can see. It's very different. And then out of that crops up the Rocky Mountains.
There's
It's quite fantastic.
There's a great spiritual movement in Canada now, isn't there? There seems to be a lot of attention. Everything, it's almost like central focus, isn't it? You think you're on a path and something comes in, like the Canadian connection, and here you are. And everything I'm seeing now is connected with Canada. It's very interesting. And I spoke to a friend who is now living in America, and she was saying everything seems to be coming out of Canada at the moment.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
that's really interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting, and I'm being drawn over here.
Yes, yes. Well, you've gathered whatever you needed now, got that energy and ready to do some more work.
Yeah, and it's particularly the soul midwifery for the dying that's drawing me here, because I've been told that I'm not, you know, right now they're not prepared for me to bring in that extra special work to, you know, be with the dying and their loved ones and help to prepare them and walk them to the other side.
I feel the soul midwifery
as I did with my mother. So.
It's very much pioneer role. You know, it's the future. For us to consciously die, and for us to know how to die, and for us to be in control of it, rather than it being something that we're afraid of and out of our control. I think that's very much going to be coming in this sort of new
and
dimension.
that fear of death and dying that's so deeply embedded in Western society in particular, and it's perpetuated by all the systems and insurance and just the structures, and it causes so much pain and suffering, and it prevents people from truly living their lives.
Azra, could you give us a bit of idea about what soul midwifery is, for those people that don't know much about it? Because you're talking about things there that some people may not particularly understand what exactly it is that you'd be doing.
Right. Well, I guess the best way to describe it would be to distinguish what my experience in hospice is right now. Basically, in Canada is decades behind where England, the UK is in terms of the hospice movement in itself. And I was actually told the day before I left, without asking the question, that as much as my supervisor saw a need for and the importance of the kind of work that I do, that there would be no openings in the foreseeable future in the hospice where I am, because the only alternative or complementary therapy they have is massage, which is actually in fact not the best thing for the dying, who are so incredibly sensitive. I mean, touch is so incredibly important, because it's being ill or dying is very isolating, and it's about humanizing the experience. So what I do, and I because of my background, my shamanic training, I also trained an offshoot of the Four Winds Society as Dying Consciously, and I worked with that, and that is a synthesis of the indigenous traditions, and so it's shamanic work in terms of very gentle, like just using your hands and just working with the energy body, and releasing, assisting, working with, I mean, you work together, you just act as a guide working with someone's energy. and it's releasing the dense energy, so it lightens the light body, so that when it's time to, when the soul chooses, and there is a certain amount of choice in when and how you exit. So when it's ready, you do certain things, and part of it is what I do. It's not in the training that I took here, but the Great Death Spiral, and sending the soul,
really beautiful.
the soul out on its final spirit flight. And I worked with my mom, and because of her generation, she was born in 1925, and our family where you weren't allowed to speak. So there was a lot of suppressed things, and she was a beautiful, beautiful, lovely. She was an angel, but she still, there was stuff that she was holding from her life experience, and so I worked with that, and it was remarkable the difference it made. And after I did a very large piece, in particular this one, in the wee hours one night, that's when a lot of magic happened. And there were lots of her guides and angels showed up, relatives, and we had shared experiences in that as well. Very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful, very beautiful.
When someone is going between worlds, and if you're sensitive and open to it, you can tap into that too.
It's like a birth, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
It's like when a baby comes into our world.
Yes, well, and that's just it. It's the
same
circle
thing
of life,
on the
and
other
it's,
side.
midwifing a child coming in, a young soul coming in, or whatever, an old soul too, in terms of earth age, it can be a baby, but it's the same thing as gently taking someone out.
So you've got very calm energy.
Very.
You can feel that. It's
Oh,
really
yes.
do.
Oh,
Yes, you
yeah.
could just be lulled into
Yes.
the next stage
Very
of trance.
nice
couldn't you,
relax.
really? Yes.
Well, thank you.
Definitely.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. It really is. You're taking the vibration really down,
Yes.
and into a nice tranquil space. It's almost like a hypnotherapy.
Yeah, and I felt that shift with you because obviously I've been with Azra, she's staying at my house, so we know what one another are like when we're just like ourselves.
Yes.
But when you were talking, that
Different
was
energy.
yeah,
Different
definitely.
energy.
Yeah.
Well, and actually this finally finding my soul purpose, and
Yes.
this is definitely it, is helping me finally find my voice, and which, has been hugely suppressed in this.
As it has with so many.
Yes, exactly. But everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And I have a sense too that perhaps I haven't used my voice, and although it's a bit husky today because I have this sore throat and a little bit of throat chakra stuff going on because of the fear of speaking, but it's a little lower than usual, but I have a feeling that because I haven't, my voice is largely unused, and it's a little softer, younger than than my chronological age. It's a good voice to use when presenting, talking about, introducing the dialogue of speaking about death and dying, which is so important.
Yes, and the energy, as we said. And it isn't easy always to speak in front of an audience or in front of cameras, but I don't know about you four, have you all known on some level that one day you would speak in front of other people and you'd be sharing something? Yeah, I mean it is kind of...
For me, no, not. I mean, writing, yes, but not, because I've always been very self-conscious.
Yeah.
And
It's
very,
facing your
very,
fear, isn't it?
very camera shy.
Yeah, totally.
Like
I
even
totally agree with you.
photos and
And here you are doing it now.
But most people
thank
are.
you so very much.
I think
Yes.
it's one of, isn't it the biggest fear of public speaking?
Yeah.
Isn't it the
I
biggest?
suppose that's true.
I mean, I know from my own point of view, I don't know, I might have said this story certainly to you two, Dee and Magenta, and I think you know about this one, Jean. Many years ago.
This is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Many years ago, I used to sell crystals and tapes and bits and pieces and go to people's houses and do like these little parties, and used to, do meditation with them, and it was, it was fantastic. I used to really enjoy it, and I did it as a hobby, and that was fine because there was only ever sort of, I don't know, maybe 8 people, and it was fine. It was all very sort of, cup of tea and chat, a bit like this sort of thing, so it was fine. But I found it, I was very nervous going to the people's houses, very nervous. But it was, so it was usually people I knew, so I was okay. And anyway, while I was there, I met this one particular lady once, and she said to me, we just got chatting, this, that. And she said, I want to give you my number. And I said, yeah, I really want your number. And she did readings. And she said, you don't want to come for a reading, do you? And I said, no, I don't want to see you for that. But I'll take your number and I'll call you at some point. So anyway, kind of long story short, I think about 2 months went by, 2 or 3 months. And I found this card and thought, it's now time to ring this lady. So I rang her up and I said, do you remember me? She said, yes, I remember you, Jessica. And I said, can I arrange to see you? So we made the arrangement. And again, she said, you don't really want a reading, do you? I said, well, no, but I'll come and see you. So we got there, sat, we had a cup of tea, we were chatting away for probably about 40 minutes. And she goes, and went off and she came back and she gave me a number. And she said, here, take this number and ring this man. And I said, okay. And I looked at it and I thought, okay. So again, went back home. I think the next day I rang this chap and he was a master NLP, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. So I knew nothing about that. This was many, many years ago. And I phoned him up and I said, I would really, I've been given your number, I'd like to make an appointment to see you for public speaking. It just fell out of my mouth. And he said to me, do you do anything at the moment or anything? And I said, no. And he said, what, are you planning to do something? I said, no, not yet. I said, and he said, oh. And I said, no, in about 20 years or so I will be. It was just the funniest thing. He went, okay. It was just like so normal to him. Okay, fine. We had this session and it's quite comical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's only now, 20 years or so later.
Yeah.
If not
Talk about
they're
seeing your
actually doing it.
timeline.
Absolutely. So I
Especially
knew.
with NLP, because they're all about timelines. aren't they?
Absolutely. So that was my experience. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And of course now, it's all taking place. So fabulous. So I think most of us, have. Not everybody, but a lot of people I speak, even people that I've met that are in business, they're CEOs of companies, they have to present these meetings, boardroom meetings, and so many of them have, on the side of talk said to me, I'm absolutely terrified about going in there, because I've worked with a lot of people. I actually did NLP training. In one side of me I was sorting out the problem, and on the other side of me I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So that's how it was for me.
Fantastic.
So Jean, you've obviously, we mentioned you're an artist, so perhaps you might like to tell us a bit about what you do.
Can I just ask you actually, Jean, before you talk, I don't know anything about your art or how you work or anything, but what I get is that you are a psychic artist and your work is channeled. Is this correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe I'm tapping into higher energies when I'm working, because I kind of go into a bit of a trance, not trance, but time just goes so quickly when I'm working. I forget to eat as well. I could be working all day in my studio and, before I know it, it's 5 o'clock and I think, I'm a bit hungry now, so I better go and eat. So when I get into the flow, I really get into the flow.
How did that start?
Well, how did I start painting? Well, I've always loved being creative. When I was a child, I used to make things all the time, and all I ever wanted to do was do art at school. And my idea was I was going to go to art college. I couldn't get into an art college, so I went to a normal college to study art. But I had to do all the other subjects. I had to do economics, and in those days you had to sort of like balance it out with academics. So I had to do English literature, which was okay. But because all I wanted to do was the arts, I stayed there for 6 months, left, and went down the admin route. I sort of had the skills of typing, and that's what I did until I had my kids. So it's only really since my kids have sort of grown up, they're 20, 25 and 22 now, and it was about 8 years ago now, when we were decorating our bedroom and I needed a painting. I thought, I can do a painting. So that's how I started, and a few people, I think you saw it and Paula saw it, or our other friend, and they said, I really like your painting, can you do me one? So it kind of started from there, and I thought, people like my work, so I thought I'm going to play around with this. And I was very nervous at the time of how it would all evolve, and it's just evolved over the years, and now I'm doing reasonably well. So
you didn't actually go to art classes other than those 6 months at college?
I'm self-taught, and I kind of like it like that, because I feel like it's more natural. One day I'd like to get into teaching and helping other people find their creative power and express that on canvas or whatever. Once I've got a bigger place and a bigger studio, that's my plan. And Jess, that that's always been my plan, isn't it, to teach other people. But yeah, I mean, I do abstracts, and I've started using crystals in my abstracts. I don't know if you've seen the painting in Jess's.
That's the only
Destiny.
painting of yours I've seen, and I think it's absolutely
So
beautiful.
it's got crystals, it's got
And
amethyst, isn't there?
A higher dimensional energy. It has light codes within it, and information
thank
and
you.
coding and DNA activation. That's I'm not able to process yet because it's beyond language, if you like. So yeah, that's
I know. I also do yachts. I do yacht seascapes, abstract yacht seascapes, and I say they're like I'm doing a lot of them at the moment. I do them on a commission basis, so I work very much on a commission basis nowadays.
But
So
your
got a
art is
gallery.
quite amazing because Jean says, oh, you know, abstract and arts, but there's so much to it. There's so much depth, and obviously I've known you for some time, and you've just got this creative knack of being able to do anything. I remember Jean one day walking along the seashore. We were walking along, and she said, "Oh, I think I'll," you know, straight away. And she's picked up these shells, and she's decided exactly what she's going to do with these shells. And then before you know it, she's got a whole collection of them, and you just turn them into these most beautiful, like rune stones, didn't you? And painted all these most beautiful. Yeah, I've got some, and painted all these beautiful.
Just being creative, making
so,
things.
Yeah, and you've taught, you've done some workshops
Yeah, I've
for
done some
charity sort of
workshops.
things, haven't
Yeah,
you,
for children. Yeah, I really enjoyed that as well.
That's the Palladian connection, isn't it? With all the playing that's going on there, and the creativity.
Yeah, see, I like making jewellery as well.
Yes.
I've made jewellery and I've sold it before,
Yes.
and I'm starting to get back into that. It's just having the time to do everything.
Yes. So
I really want to.
tell me, you say you kind of go into a light trance, or when you're doing your work, you feel as though you're going into
I've got to
an altered
be.
state.
I've got to be feeling good
Yes.
when I'm painting. So I've got to keep my vibration high. So I do that by getting out in nature. So I go
Yes.
for a walk, and where I live now, because I live in East Sussex now, I'm able to literally just go out of my front door through the woods, and I'm across the fields, the rolling hills,
Yes.
and so I go out for a walk. Exercise is really important.
Yeah.
I've just got to keep my vibration high, and then I can paint.
Yes.
Because I've tried doing it when my vibration hasn't been as high. You know, perhaps I've had a late night the night before, been out with friends, few drinks, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. That didn't pay. So, and then that doesn't work, you know, and you can't force it.
Yes.
Got to be in the right frame of mind and the right vibration.
So
to paint.
before you started painting, were you on your spiritual path then? How did you get connected with your guides? Or was it through the painting?
See, I don't know if I'm necessarily connected with any guides. I've got no names or anything like that, but I asked for assistance.
Yes.
From what Jess has told me, I am working with guides.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Don't know really. I just sort of tune in, go quiet,
Yeah.
just tune in for a bit, and I quite often see the finished painting. So sometimes I don't.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm just going with it. I know the colours that I'm going to be working with.
Yes.
Other times, if I'm doing a commission for somebody with an abstract piece, I'll tune into them, tune into their energy, and then I paint from tuning into their energy, like their higher self.
Yes.
So,
Fabulous.
So you're absolutely a channel, a conduit, but instead of speaking it like myself, Jess and
Painting
Dee, you paint it.
yeah.
You know, and do you know what amazes me? For so long, when I'd have told me about, you know, these people out there before I'd connected with anyone, you know, all these people, and they're all waking up and they've had similar journeys to you, and the great gathering, and you're connecting. And when you hear it at first, you know that it's true, but when it actually starts happening, I'm amazed at the amount of people that I'm meeting, and the talent that they have, and the link that they have, and the fifth density energy that they've birthed in their way, and the way that they're presenting it. It's just...
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
It's been a journey for me though with my art, I'd say, because I'd say I've grown in confidence, and also I think being an artist you have to really believe in yourself. And you know, there's been times I'm thinking, oh, that's rubbish, I don't like that. You know, I've really, you know, lacked in confidence, and it's grown and grown and grown. And the more I've grown in confidence through my art, the more I'm able to express myself on the canvas. And the more it's flowing, really.
I've witnessed some of Jean's work that she said, oh, do you know, to me, I'm completely unartistic in that way, aren't I? I mean, you know, I've got such appreciation for lots of things that I can't do, and one of them is art.
Yeah, me too.
And the most amazing thing is, I know, and you say that, and it's true, I do believe that, and I can if I want to, but, you know, it's not something that I particularly want to go into, But you've produced pieces of art, and I've looked at them, and you've gone, "Oh, I'm not very happy with that." And I'm like, "Oh my God,
My worst critic.
That is amazing, absolutely." And I've noticed that with artists, particularly paintings, that sort of artists, that they will be highly critical of their own work to the point where they want to destroy it, and it's like, please don't, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The piece that I've got in the shop, you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
blue and the that one, everyone comes in, they stand there, they go, I love
Yeah.
that piece, and that was the one that you weren't overly keen on.
Absolutely
So
It was obviously
amazing.
meant for you though, wasn't it? 'Cause-
Complete, and everybody that walks in there, and everybody else that doesn't, you know, where I've had it,
Mm.
I've had it in the home, and the first thing, you know, people they've come, oh, look at that.
Wow.
We just want to stand there and look at it.
It's
so
fantastic.
there's something about, I don't know what that is, but you know, what do you think that is? Because it does seem to. Does anyone else notice that artists? You know, is it?
Oh, you mean being critical about their own work?
So critical. What would you say
I don't
that
know.
is?
I think it's all about believing in yourself again.
I haven't
really
met
do.
many artists, but I know people who work with digital art. My son is doing media at college. My brother does media work, and my boyfriend, and they are, I personally feel, too self-critical, all of them, and they're all really, really good. And my son's doing really well at media, and he will criticise and think it's not that good, and you know, he gets the highest marks at the moment for his work. But I don't know that many artists who paint. I know actors can also be incredibly self-critical. They can be on stage and do the most amazing, mind-blowing performance, and they'll watch the footage back if it's on film and think, oh dear, I shouldn't have said that line like that, and I guess when I was acting I was a bit like that myself, actually. You have to let that go when you raise in frequency and you're letting work go. When you raise in frequency and it becomes channeled, you can't be quite as self-critical anymore, because it's not ultimately from you, it's from you, but it's with that higher flow, and it's difficult to be critical of that because it's not really you from that perspective, if you
I'm
like.
less critical nowadays, I'd say it's more of a self-belief thing, really.
I think it's wonderful. Do you really believe then that anyone can paint, anyone can draw?
Totally.
Because I do stickmen, you know, when I draw. that's as far as I've ever
Totally.
got.
I think it's the feeling.
Maybe
It's how
just
you're
get a
feeling.
dog.
It's how you're feeling. You can express how you're feeling. Perhaps you're using your mind to.
Yeah, because I was saying that must be because, you know, you were saying there about you've been acting and you're
And
critical of
writing.
yourself. I guess, are we all in our own
think
chosen
so.
field?
Yeah.
And is
Yeah.
that the driving force or something?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
what, you know, makes us...
Is that the contrast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because with
Interesting.
contrast we expand. don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when do you know when a painting is absolutely finished?
I just know.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can overwork a piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
know.
same with a channeled piece of writing. It will naturally, and
Yes.
and there's the conclusion.
You
I'm
just
like,
know.
okay.
It's a feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I probably work the same as you
Yeah.
do, but I
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
do it on
And I
canvas.
get that you do. I'm told that, you know, we, if you like, present ourselves in many forms through these conduits, and not all speak this energy. Others use the hands to heal, others use the visuals, they paint, there's so many ways,
great, isn't
you
it?
know, so many ways. And it's, I think, when there's somebody out there who hasn't linked into that, they've only got to open up to listening to someone who does, either a piece of channeled material or poetry or a very inspired novel or a painting, and it awakens in them, and then you've got them then finding their blueprint and finding their path, and then eventually where you go is an entire community, the whole planet of everybody all on their blueprints. I mean, what a world is that? And is that where we're going?
Yeah,
Is that
not
what
far
we're
off, is it?
creating?
Yeah,
I
not
know.
far away.
I actually have some questions here. I wonder if I might throw out to this great bunch here of five chatty ladies having tea. I had some comments come in from a couple of videos that I've already posted on YouTube. One I didn't really understand. A lady said, if the all is in us and we are not, are we not therefore one being experiencing consciousness from different perspectives all at once? If there is only one, then only one can do the healing. So please explain further how you think that healing comes from us and not from the divine source in us. Now somebody then replied, to say that love energy does not come from us but through us is not entirely correct. All I can say to that is, personally, I've never ever said anywhere or quoted anywhere on any radio show or on our excerpts from our workshop or anywhere that healing comes from us and not the divine source in us. I believe and I know that it's a choice and it can come from both. And if you are linked in, it will come from divinity. Anyone else comment on that?
Yeah, as a healer, I can say that if you can heal with your own energy,
Yes.
but it's not a good thing to do because you can deplete your own energy.
Yeah.
You need to go through the process of actually attaching to the healing energies of the universal energy, and that way you will not be depleted of energy and you're connecting to pure source. Also, you have a responsibility to look after your own body as well within that process. Try and remove as many blocks of yourself as possible so you become a clear, pure channel for the healing. And you hear about some great healers, why is one different to another? And my belief is that they focused on themselves, their energy, to get themselves to a place of purity. So I would not recommend using your own energies. And if anybody is doing that, I would say go and find somebody who teaches healing, just to put you on the right pathway, really.
I mean, I've seen people that are actually operating from that basis, and they are drained. In fact, I bumped into someone the other day, and they've been healing, let's just say, someone.
Yes.
And the first thing I said when I looked at her was, "Wow, your energy, are you okay?" That was my first response. And she said, yeah, I'm fine. And then I said, no, I mean, are you okay? And she said, and that's when she explained what she'd been doing. So that was operating from that level.
Yes.
So now that person's put themselves in a position where they are jeopardising themselves, as you say, Dee, and that's not a good place to be.
No.
So how do you know the difference then?
Just like you knowing when your painting comes to an end.
Yes.
Yeah.
You feel that. You feel that energy. And I would say, if I was going to healing from anybody, I would check on that person who's giving the healing. If they're looking ill.
What's the
tell by
shamanic
the
perspective on that?
Well, because I was going to say, from my own experience, being like highly, highly sensitive, all my life, and always taking other people's stuff on, in everything that I did, and I, even though I was painfully shy, I always people were attracted to me and would always tell me their life story, like complete strangers would come up to me. And the work I did too, after I danced in law, I was helping, insurance litigation. I thought I was helping people, and I was, but it ended up being about money. But all these people's lives that had been destroyed by, accidents, medical malpractice, whatever it was. And I couldn't sleep at night because I was living their trauma. And through the shamanic work, and my own life experience, because I took all that on, I literally exploded, physically and otherwise. And when I was coming out of that, I was, in the dark night of the soul, literally, I was blind for a while. And when I was in there, I began to see colors. And I also tapped into my own innate healing, and then through synchronicity I fell upon the shaman's path, and that is based upon you work with the wounded healer, the concept. So you work with your own deep wounding, transmute it, and it becomes your medicine. And so it puts you, and another part of that very fantastic experiential learning is stepping outside of your story.
Yes.
And so being able to not, wrap story around things. So when I work, there's very little talk. And also just being able to be not only a sacred witness to others in terms of the healing, but also being that sacred witness to yourself. Being able to step outside of yourself. And through the shamanic work, I've released so much dense energy. And now, especially in my work with the dying, and their family, and there's so much pain. Previously I would have taken all of that on, but now I can be this very compassionate, caring witness, but not feel their I mean, yes, there is sadness sometimes, and I shed a few tears. Can't help that.
Of course, yes.
But I don't take it on the way I used to, and that's from doing my own work and the importance of doing our own deep work. And when we do that as well,
the key to healing.
when we do our own deep work, release all that dense energy that binds us, holds us, the fear, in particularly, it necessarily affects, it ripples out and affects the whole. First, you can noticeably see your relationship with people around you shifting along with systems, and it necessarily affects the whole, and that's where the whole concept of the oneness comes in from that
Yeah, and
question.
this wounded healer as well, that makes sense. The 9 always say every natural healer takes a personal healing journey, and it's not a case of you take your personal healing journey and then when you're healed you start to heal. You actually heal while you're taking your own journey. So you are a wounded healer, which is exactly how it is. I'd just like to say I really would thank that person for sending that question in. I'm not sure, it came in response to the excerpts from the Higher Connection workshop, but I don't feel that either you or I ever said that healing comes from us and not from divinity at any time, and if it came across that way, then I apologise, because we would never have said that. But really, really good question. And the other question I'd just like to present...
Can I just say one last thing about that whole, what we were talking
of course,
about?
go ahead, Azra.
Especially right now with everything going on in the world, it's through chaos and crisis is often our best friend.
Yes.
There's so many gifts in the darkness, and it's only by facing those fears and being forced to, because people are far too complacent, and it's easier to stay in something that is not of the highest good for yourself and others. But it's only through that crisis that when you're forced to shift out of it, and then you realize the incredible gifts in it, and that it was so necessary for the soul's journey, and that goes individually and also for the collective with everything that's going on, and all the crises around us that are being stirred up, and it's all for a very good reason.
So important to be said. So again, thank you to that person. Does everyone want to take a break?